What makes a war movie feel real? Is it the chaos, the detail, the pressure, or that eerie sense that you're no longer watching a film, but stepping into history itself? Some movies get close, but a few go further and make you forget the screen completely. These are the ones that veterans nod at, historians respect, and audiences never forget. Stay with me, because the deeper we go into this list, the more the truth stops feeling like a story. Number 15, Saving Private Ryan, 1998. Few movies hit you with reality the way Saving Private Ryan does. From the very first moment, it pulls you straight into one of the toughest days in modern history. Director Steven Spielberg didn't hold back on the details. He studied real accounts, met veterans, and asked hundreds of extras to move as soldiers would have in real life. The result is that intense opening sequence filmed with practical effects, handheld shots, and carefully created environments that felt shockingly real. The movie also stands out because it focuses on the small things: the tired faces, the long marches, the uncertainty, and the weight of responsibility. Tom Hanks leads a team that feels more like a group you might meet at a local diner than a typical movie squad. Each one reacts to the confusion and fear in believable ways that match the accounts of real soldiers. The story itself may be fictional, but the emotions, decisions, and pressure mirror real missions from the 1940s. Many veterans said they recognized the sounds, the teamwork, and even the quiet moments between the action. That level of respect for real experiences is why Saving Private Ryan became the gold standard for war realism. It does not try to make war look heroic, it makes it look human. Number 14, Black Hawk Down, 1993. Black Hawk Down throws you straight into the heart of the 1993 event in Mogadishu, and it never lets up. Director Ridley Scott blended documentary-style pacing with a ground-level view of a mission that became far more complicated than expected. What makes it stand out isn't the action scenes, but the accuracy of the communication, the coordination, and the way the units move through crowded streets and unfamiliar roads. The cast trained with real service members who were familiar with the event, and those lessons show in the final film. Movements feel practiced, not staged. The teamwork feels natural, not forced. Even the way the characters talk to each other mirrors the clipped rhythm of real communication under pressure. The production also studied maps, radio transcripts, and accounts from those who were there. They worked to capture how quickly things changed and how unpredictable a real mission can become. Some small details were adjusted for pacing, but the broader picture stays faithful to the real event. Black Hawk Down is one of the rare films where the tension does not feel like movie tension. It feels like the confusion and scramble described by those on the ground. It captures how a mission planned to last minutes stretched into one of the longest and toughest urban operations of the era. It is fast, tight, and uncomfortably real. Number 13, Letters from Iwo Jima, 1945. Most war films focus on one side, but Letters from Iwo Jima takes a rare step by telling the 1945 battle from the viewpoint of Japanese soldiers. Clint Eastwood and his team worked from genuine letters, journals, and accounts written by those who lived through the event. They used these writings not to create dramatic speeches, but to show private thoughts, quiet fears, and the pressure of holding a position they knew was almost impossible to defend. What sets this movie apart is the calm, reflective tone. Instead of big statements, it shows small, human moments: sharing water, writing home, or sitting in silence before another long day. These scenes match descriptions found in real diaries from Japanese units on the island. The film's main figure, General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, is portrayed using many of his real words and ideas. He studied in America, understood the obstacles ahead, and still wrote letters filled with dignity and worry. Eastwood uses those writings to build a story that feels grounded, not exaggerated. The film also avoids turning the event into a simple story of winning or losing. It keeps the focus on the emotional side of a long and exhausting defense. Letters from Iwo Jima earned praise worldwide for showing a version of history that is honest, quiet, and deeply human. It transforms a well-known event into something personal. Number 12. We Were Soldiers, 1965. We Were Soldiers focused on the 1965 event at Ia Drang, and it had one major advantage. Lieutenant General Hal Moore, the man at the center of the operation, helped guide the portrayal. When the real commander sits with the filmmakers, the details tend to be right. Director Randall Wallace listened carefully to Moore's corrections, questions, and memories, creating a film that treats accuracy as a requirement, not a bonus. The cast underwent intense preparation so they could move, communicate, and react as real units did during the event. Many veterans praised the commitment to showing the bond between the leaders and their teams. Mel Gibson plays Moore with a quiet steadiness based on how the real commander acted during difficult conditions. The movie also captures the emotional weight carried by families waiting at home. Wallace included this side after speaking with people who lived through that period. It creates a full picture of the event, showing both the scene itself and the effects felt far from it. Some timeline details were tightened for the film, but the heart of the story holds steady. We Were Soldiers succeeds because it respects the people behind the history, especially those who shared their memories. It is not just a retelling of a mission, it is a portrait of leadership, teamwork, and the cost of stepping into the unknown. Number 11, Das Boot, 1981. Das Boot remains one of the most realistic portrayals of submarine life ever filmed. Directed by Wolfgang Petersen, it was inspired by a novel written by a journalist who actually traveled with a real submarine crew. Because of that first-hand experience, the movie includes details that feel lived in rather than imagined. The narrow bunks, the constant noise, and the dim lights all reflect what sailors described in their journals from the 1940s. The production team built full-size submarine interiors, allowing the camera to move through tight corridors exactly as the crew would. Actors spent long days inside these enclosed sets, which naturally influenced their body language and helped their performances feel genuine. What truly sets Das Boot apart is the focus on the emotional reality of the crew. Instead of turning them into dramatic heroes, Petersen shows them as ordinary men facing exhaustion, boredom, hope, and rising anxiety. The long periods of silence, broken by sudden alerts, match the real rhythm of submarine duty. Nothing in the movie feels exaggerated for excitement. The tension comes from the authenticity itself. That commitment to real details is why Das Boot is still praised as one of the most faithful depictions of life beneath the waves. Number 10, 1917, 2019. 1917 feels more like a lived memory than a movie. Director Sam Mendes shaped the story from his grandfather's real accounts, which gave the film a grounded emotional core. Every inch of the set, from the mud to the broken fences, was built after studying diaries, maps, and photographs from the early 1900s. This attention to tiny details makes each moment feel uncomfortably believable. The long-take style is more than a visual trick. It mirrors how soldiers described moving through the trenches without knowing what waited around the next corner. The camera follows the characters step by step, creating the same sense of constant alertness real servicemen remembered. Historians were consulted throughout production, helping the team design realistic trench layouts, lighting, and soundscapes. Even the uneven ground and narrow paths were shaped to match the actual terrain. What makes 1917 stand out is its quiet truth. It shows the long stretches of waiting, the sudden decisions, and the unpredictable turns found in real accounts. The film doesn't feel like a reenactment. It feels like a personal story passed down through a family raw, focused, and unforgettable. Number 9, Come and See, 1985. Come and See is one of the most haunting and accurate portrayals of life in Belarus during the 1940s. Director Elem Klimov and writer Aleš Adamovich based the film on first-hand testimonies from survivors. These real memories shaped every scene, giving the movie a documentary-like weight far beyond typical storytelling. Klimov insisted on authentic locations, natural lighting, and long takes, so the emotions had time to settle. The pacing reflects the slow rise of uncertainty described by people who lived through the occupation. Instead of large dramatic moments, the film focuses on small, devastating details: empty homes, damaged fields, and the stunned expressions of ordinary families. The young lead actor prepared intensely to capture the emotional changes described in real accounts of children who experienced the era. Many survivors recalled losing their childhood years overnight, and the performance mirrors that painful shift with striking accuracy. Come and See does not soften history. It shows how quickly an entire world can change and how deeply young people were affected. Its truthfulness is the reason it remains one of the most powerful films ever made about the emotional cost of conflict. Number 8, Hacksaw Ridge, 2016. Hacksaw Ridge tells the story of Desmond Doss, a medic who served during the 1940s. The film captures the inner conflict between his peaceful beliefs and his responsibility to help those around him. Many details came directly from interviews with people who knew Doss and historians who studied the mission, giving the movie a deep level of accuracy. The cast underwent lengthy training sessions so their movements, teamwork, and communication would feel authentic. These efforts paid off, as many veterans praised how naturally the characters interacted under pressure. The production also put great care into recreating the environment. Weather conditions, sound design, and layout choices were shaped by real accounts, making the setting feel close to what participants described. Doss's calm and steady nature is portrayed exactly as people remembered him: focused, humble, and committed to helping others without seeking attention. Hacksaw Ridge succeeds because it grounds every emotional moment in truth. It highlights the physical and mental strain described by those who lived through the mission. The result is a respectful and deeply human portrait of courage. Number 7. Lone Survivor, 2013. Lone Survivor is based on the 2000s mission described by Marcus Luttrell. While a few details have sparked debate, the main events closely follow real accounts. What makes the film stand out is its commitment to showing genuine communication, movement, and teamwork. The cast trained directly with veterans who taught them real signals, habits, and coordination techniques. The movie accurately shows the challenges of mountain terrain: slipping ground, steep ledges, long climbs, and unpredictable weather. These conditions match the descriptions found in reports from the mission. It also focuses on fatigue, showing how the body and mind react after long periods without rest. One of the strongest elements is the respectful portrayal of the local residents who helped Luttrell. Their actions are based on documented accounts that highlight their loyalty and courage. The pacing remains tight because the real mission shifted direction quickly. The film reflects that unpredictability, showing how fast a simple plan can become complicated. Lone Survivor works because it honors the real people involved. It feels like a tribute rather than a dramatization. Number 6. Platoon, 1986. Platoon stands out because director Oliver Stone lived the story before he filmed it. He served during the 1960s and used his own memories to shape the script. This gives the movie a truthfulness that cannot be manufactured. Every detail from the dialogue to the posture of the soldiers reflects real experiences. The cast trained outdoors for weeks, eating basic meals, sleeping in rough conditions, and learning how to move as a real unit. This changed their body language and created natural chemistry. Veterans later said the film captured the emotional strain, confusion, and unpredictability they remembered. Platoon also pays attention to small, often overlooked moments. The long nights, quiet breaks, sudden decisions, and underlying tension match real accounts documented by servicemen from the era. Stone studied photographs, maps, and field reports to get the uniforms, gear, and landscape right. The result is a film that feels grounded and honest. Platoon does not try to simplify the Vietnam era. It shows life as it was described by those who went through it: complex, tiring, and filled with moments that stay with you forever. Number 5. Glory, 1989. Glory stands as one of the most accurate and heartfelt portrayals of the American Civil War, especially regarding the overlooked story of the 54th Massachusetts Regiment. Released in 1989, the film draws heavily from the real letters of Colonel Robert Gould Shaw, the young commander who led one of the first African-American units in Union service. Those letters became the emotional core of the film, giving it an honesty that feels rare even today. The production team studied uniforms, drills, formations, and first-hand diaries to portray camp life and battlefield conditions with remarkable accuracy. Everything from the boots to the buttons was created after consulting historical specialists who had spent decades analyzing original artifacts. One of the strongest elements of Glory is how it highlights relationships within the unit. The camaraderie, disagreements, pride, and frustration all mirror the accounts left behind by soldiers of the time. Instead of using broad, exaggerated personalities, the film grounds each character in the everyday struggles described in real journals from the 1860s. The final sequence at Fort Wagner remains one of the most faithful recreations of a Civil War assault ever filmed. It does not glamorize or soften the moment. It shows the grit, determination, and bravery documented in historical reports. Glory is celebrated not only for its accuracy, but for giving long-overlooked heroes the place in history they earned. It stays powerful because it tells the truth with respect and clarity. Number 4, Downfall, 2004. Downfall pulls viewers directly into the final days of the 1940s leadership in Germany, and it does so with an impressive level of research. The filmmakers worked from diaries, recorded interviews, and eyewitness accounts written by those who lived inside the underground headquarters during the last days of the conflict. Many scenes are drawn directly from these sources, matching the tone of real conversations, the style of clothing, and even the small objects that filled the rooms. Bruno Ganz, who plays the central figure, trained for months. He studied rare footage, practiced posture and speech patterns, and focused on accuracy rather than dramatic flair. His performance is often praised for feeling grounded, not exaggerated. What makes Downfall especially powerful is how close the camera stays to the moment. Instead of turning the final days into a distant history lesson, the film shows confusion, denial, and tension exactly as described in witness accounts. Even small background details, papers piling up, hurried footsteps, long pauses, were shaped from archived notes. The team rebuilt the bunker space using architectural plans and written descriptions to reflect how cramped and unstable it felt. Downfall stands out because it chooses honesty over myth. It presents the final chapter exactly as survivors described it: tense, uncertain, and slowly collapsing. That commitment to truth is why the movie remains one of the most respected portrayals of the era. Number 3, The Thin Red Line, 1998. The Thin Red Line, released in 1998, approaches war from a more reflective angle, but beneath its poetic style lies a foundation of strict realism. Director Terrence Malick spent years studying the accounts of those who fought in the Battle of Guadalcanal. He used real military journals, interviews, and archived reports to shape scenes that looked and sounded like the stories told by real veterans. What separates this film from others is its focus on the atmosphere of the conflict rather than only the action. Real soldiers from the era often spoke about long silences, rough terrain, thick humidity, and sudden bursts of tension. Malick built the entire film around, capturing that unpredictable rhythm. Many of the characters are taken from James Jones's novel, which itself was inspired by Jones's own service. Their conversations, worries, and debates about leadership mirror the emotional experiences described by actual servicemen who wrote about the island campaign. The production team was meticulous about props, clothing, and the physical layout of the battle zones. The foliage, the rough hills, and even the lighting were designed after studying photographs taken in the 1940s. Actors also trained in field conditions, learning how to move, signal, and react with realistic teamwork. The Thin Red Line remains one of the most accurate portrayals of life during the Pacific campaigns, not because it recreates every moment perfectly, but because it captures the emotional truth that veterans described: confusion, exhaustion, and the constant presence of uncertainty. Number 2, All Quiet on the Western Front, 2022. Across all 3 major adaptations, 1930, 1979, and 2022, All Quiet on the Western Front has been praised for its brutal honesty and meticulous accuracy. The original novel was written by a real veteran of the First World War, and each film version has remained loyal to the tone and message of that source material. What makes these movies stand out is their commitment to the everyday experience of trench life: mud, smoke, sleepless nights, long marches, and the emotional drain of waiting are shown exactly as described in historical letters and journals from soldiers in the 1900s. Many veterans said the earlier versions captured details that felt uncomfortably familiar. The 2022 adaptation uses modern filmmaking tools, but still mirrors real accounts: tight trenches, sudden confusion, and the eerie quiet that often fills the moments between major assaults. The production team used research from battlefield museums, preserved diaries, and archived photographs to recreate the environment. All Quiet on the Western Front succeeds not because it shows grand strategy, but because it focuses on the view from the ground. It shows how young men entered with hope and quickly learned the reality of a conflict that offered little control or clarity. Each adaptation proves that when a story is rooted in truth, it can remain powerful for generations. The message stays relevant, and the realism remains unmatched. Number 1. Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World, 2003. Master and Commander is widely regarded as one of the most accurate depictions of naval life in the early 19th century. The filmmakers worked closely with historians who specialized in the Napoleonic era, using real journals kept by sailors to shape everything from the ship's daily routines to the layout of the decks. The story draws heavily from Patrick O'Brien's novels, which themselves were written after decades of research into maritime history. To match real conditions, the production used actual sailing ships whenever possible. Movements, sounds, and crew routines were recreated exactly as they would have been experienced at sea. Even the smallest traditions, meal timings, musical gatherings, and the formal way officers spoke were taken from documented customs. The cramped quarters, tight hallways, and long stretches of slow travel mirror descriptions found in surviving logs from the early 1800s. The film also highlights the friendship between the captain and the ship's doctor, echoing relationships recorded in real letters written by naval officers. Their discussions about science, leadership, and responsibility feel drawn straight from history. Master and Commander avoids exaggeration. Instead, it shows navigation challenges, rough weather, and the teamwork required to survive months away from land. Its dedication to real detail earned praise from historians around the world, making it a model of how to bring maritime history to life with accuracy and respect. History always hits harder when a film chooses truth over theatrics, and every title on this list proves it. These movies don't just recreate events, they pull you into the moment. If you enjoyed this deep dive into realism, tell me which film surprised you most. Like, share, and subscribe for more bold breakdowns. Your next favorite story might be the next video.